Ваше Превъзходителство,
Your Excellency,
уважаеми гости,
dear guests,
след вчерашните дискусии
after yesterday's discussions regarding partnerships between businesses, social innovators, and state institutions, today we'll focus on examples and best practice of Bulgaria and the Nordic countries, the Western Balkans, and also a speech of the winner of European Social Competition, Mr. Željko Khmermajer.
отново ще могат да бъдат следени на фейсбук страницата.
This morning you can follow the discussions on our websites thanks to streamer.bg. We also want to thank all our sponsors. This conference was organized under a project for increasing the social impact of social entrepreneurs funded by the Human Resource Development Operational Program. And now it's an honor for me to pass the floor to Ms. Sofia Breitholz, who will be the moderator of this morning's session.
Welcome to our conference today. It's really nice to see you here again. I'm sure we have some of you joining us that joined us yesterday, where we had a day full of discussions. Today we're looking forward also to delving into the topic of partnership and how we can work cross-sector between the public sector, between the corporate sector, and to really partner together with social entrepreneurs and with the not-for-profit sector as well, to work together across sectors to really affect social change. And this is, of course, all what the Sustainable Development Goals are about as well, and particularly the final goal, which is number 17, of a partnership for development. So these 2 days we are talking not only about why we need partnership and why we need to accelerate the growth and basically the speed of finding solutions that can tackle the challenges that we have today, but we're also talking concretely about how to do this. And with this panel today, I'm very happy to welcome. We have some great examples of some social entrepreneurs from Bulgaria and from Scandinavia, and Denmark and Sweden. But we're also going to bring in the business sector, and I would like to start by welcoming Your Excellency, Ambassador from Denmark to Bulgaria, Søren Jakobsen. If you could start by maybe framing today's discussions a little bit for us, also around why it's important to work towards the SDGs, and also how governments and institutions can promote this idea of partnership.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Breitholz. I'd like to thank you for the invitation to this conference today. For me, it's important to be here. I'd also like to thank all the other participants, and I'm looking very much forward to listen to your contributions. I'm sure you all are doing a very important job, and personal commitment to do things, that's quite important. So I'm looking forward to that. The work of Reach for Change is, for me, characterized by your ability to both work globally but also very locally at the same time. Your organization is able to work with a lot of different projects, both when you look at the aim but also the geography, and I think that's quite important. And the aim of the different projects you support, they span quite wide, from development goal number 3 on ensuring healthy lifestyles for people, the promoting of well-being of people as such, number 10 on the focus of reducing of inequality among countries geographically and also between gender, and then 17, as you mentioned, about partnership. So I think your work shows the diversity and what we have to work with. And geographically, the projects you are working with is quite diverse. It goes from Ghana to Bulgaria and Denmark and other places around the world. And when you look at what you actually are doing, it seems like you have helped more than 1 million children around the world. And for me, that's amazing, and I would like to congratulate you on that. So I'm looking very much forward to hear more about the different projects, what you're doing, and also from the other participants. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to join the conference and share a little bit about my knowledge about how the Nordic countries and Bulgaria can cooperate even better, and how we can, all right, and how we can how we can help young people even more. I would like to give also some more specific examples of how we as diplomats can be part of this cooperation. And after that, I'll tell a little bit about the Nordic model, how we do it in the Nordic countries. But first, I would like to say a little bit about the philosophy behind this partnering for change. It's an important part of international cooperation on the highest level. And I would like to take you back to 2015, when we had the historic UN summit that led to the adoption of the 17 development goals. The ambition was to create opportunities for children and young people, and it was one of the main pillars among the 17 goals that was decided at the UN and to be reached in 2030. The work to implement the 17 sustainable goals have a great impact for the Danish government. For us, it's a very important thing. We have a minister looking into actually development of the 17 goals, and for us it's a key priority. And I'm very happy that last year in 2017, Denmark was ranked as the second country in the world to implement the goals, and we will continue to do so. We've come a long way, but there's still a lot to be done. But I think we're on the right track, and I would like to encourage everybody else also to go along this way. One way to promote the specific global solutions to reach the 17 goals is through partnerships. Partnerships is key, and the Danish government, for the Danish government, partnerships are important. We took an initiative not long ago, Partnership for Green Growth and Global Goals 2013, P4G. It's a global alliance which has the ambition to promote international cooperation and facilitate the communication between private businesses and public institutions to minimize the barriers and to stimulate the sustainable solutions to activate the global goals. This is how social innovation and sustainable development goals are supported on the multinational level and the multilateral level. But for this to be efficient, we also need ideas. We need ideas from people working in the field and people who are actually dealing with it. You cannot make a solution like this in a global conference in Denmark. You have to come down to earth, and you have to listen to the people working with these things for a fact. You need all the good ideas, and all the good ideas are from people like you who have engagement and who work for these kind of things. In Copenhagen, we of course try to work hard to create the best possibility setting for the good ideas to be dismantled and for the good ideas to be spread around the world. So that's what we try to do. On the more local level, then my role as an ambassador is to try to facilitate some of the good ideas. I've been here for close to, I'm in my second year now, 1.5 years I've been here. And I've been lucky enough to be asked to be patron or to be part of different kind of social activities in Bulgaria that also aim at trying to enhance and try to promote social entrepreneurship and try to make a better living for the people. And I'd like to tell you about a more specific project. We have, for the past 2 years, been involved in supporting Social Circuses Festival in Bulgaria, Mini Arts Festival. A number of very engaged people are involved in that, also people from Denmark. One of them is a young Danish woman, Galina, who is sitting down there. And we as the embassy, we have supported the festival by putting in a good word to the Sofia municipality and also being part of it. I have personally been to a number of the activities, also with my family, my young daughter and my wife. Lately, last weekend, we actually attended a workshop where we were trying to learn to juggle, which was difficult, I must say, but we tried. Last year, Cirkus Tværs was here, and Cirkus Tværs, that's a Danish social circus. And Tværs, that refers to people who are not part of the mainstream, but are somehow on the margin, and young people and children that sometimes end on the wrong side. And these different social circuses, social activities try to reach the people and try to get them involved. And they were here in Bulgaria last year. They did a performance at the National Palace of Culture or outside there. They went around to different refugee camps and prisons and stuff like that. And it gave them a good understanding about how it is to be young in Bulgaria and how you can try to influence different things. And I was happy to be part of that and think that's a great way to try to enhance your knowledge, but also to give something to specific young people. So that's very local. That is on the more practical plan, helping specific young children. But it also the whole idea is, of course, to give these young people a sense of belonging, a sense of I also matter, and then in that sense also help society and help to develop it all in all. And I think that's very, very important. As I said earlier, P4G, national governments and Reach for Change can only create these kind of things if you also have the ideas on the national level and you engage the NGOs and people as such. In the Nordic countries and in Denmark, the civil society is a very central part and actor of driving these kind of changes. And we think it's important. I see a big potential in trying to promote these relations with social organizations, to promote social innovation as such. In Denmark and in the Nordic countries as such, community organizations are led by a lot of voluntary work, from chairpersons to coaches and to all kind of different people cheering the football team or whatever. And this sense of people wanting to do something also on a voluntary basis is quite important to promote these different things. It aims to create a neutral place for all kinds of kids, young and older, and also people that are on the margin of the society, but also for totally normal kids who just want to have a fun playground. So the whole thing is also to make people come together from all walks of life to try to promote it. And I see an organization like Reach for Change as a natural evaluation of these Nordic traditions. It's an example how you can promote it. And one example is also with a Danish change leader, as you call it, Martin Exner, who worked on this coding pirates, which you help with. And I think that's a very good example. That's a very good example of what you can do and how you can do it. So I definitely believe in successful practices. You can use the Nordic model, the way of engagement and trying to do it. And I think you can do that in Bulgaria, and you can do it all around the world. And I'm certain that both national governments, which I more represent a government, of course, I think the government should be part of it, should try to facilitate and should try to promote the whole idea. But and I think the governments can do that. But you need the good ideas. You need people who are working on it more specifically. So thank you very much, and I'm looking very much forward to listen to some of the examples and also to discuss how we as persons, how we as governments, and also how we as a social society as such can help promoting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for really setting the stage of not only how multilateralism can support in partnership and growing social entrepreneurship, but also the need for thinking around global and local, which is quite important. So now I would like to introduce Ms. Zoya Panova, the country manager of AstraZeneca. Welcome.
Благодаря ви много, София.
Thank you very much, Sofia. Thank you very much to the organizers. It is a great honor for me to be today with you, esteemed colleagues and like-minded followers, in order to experience the experience of AstraZeneca in the area of entrepreneurship. This is social entrepreneurship, but it is present and it is active, and we try to promote it in business organizations such as AstraZeneca. We try to show also great responsibility for social challenges facing society. It is part of our corporate social responsibility. So there are a lot of common interests and a lot of common points that will be shared by social entrepreneurs and by large organizations such as AstraZeneca. AstraZeneca definitely upholds social entrepreneurship and corporate culture. This is an important part of corporate culture. This is our way of thinking. It is part of our DNA. It is not enough to be a good businessman. What is much more important is to be a good citizen of the country where you live, to feel sensitive to the issues facing the country and to find ways to solve them. Sustainable development can be defined in many ways, depending on where we belong, who we work for, whether we are self-employed, whether we work for an organization in the public or private sector. AstraZeneca, after all, has three parts of its understanding of sustainable development. So first of all, access. What do we do in order to facilitate innovation? What do we do in order to use science to create new generations of drugs, pharmaceuticals, in order to treat such important diseases as cancer, respiratory diabetes, cardiac diseases? These are the four main pillars of our company, the areas in which we create pharmaceuticals, so that our drugs can reach millions of patients in Bulgaria and abroad. The second pillar of sustainable development is to what extent, how close we are to the heart of the earth. Do we feel the pulse of the earth? Do we keep our finger on the pulse? What do we do for the next generations, no matter where we are and who we work for? And our third component is the way we work. We have to do it by showing respect for loyalty, for good standards. We need to have our rules, and our rules should lead us on the way we do business. The organizers asked me to share about our program. It is called Young Health Program. It is a global program. What you can see from the statistical data, 1 in 5 people on the planet is an adolescent. 85% of adolescents, they live in developing countries. About 25% of adolescents have already signs, serious signs of diabetes or pre-diabetes condition or obesity, insufficient movement. These are serious diseases, and later on they become non-communicable diseases. Once again, diseases that have already been addressed and that we fully support. Diabetes is a pandemic disease, and diabetes patients are getting younger and younger. Millions of people receive this diagnosis, diabetes, every year. So what is behind this diagnosis? It is the fact that even before they become of age, before they become 18 years of age, our children have already developed bad habits, and we try to address these issues in early childhood in order to prevent early addiction to drugs, to alcohol, to tobacco. A millennium generation is born in a new environment, in an environment of the boom of technology. Technology is an integral part of the life of millennial children. They are sitting in front of the screen, and they do not engage in any exercise. And lack of exercise is actually the new plague of the 21st century. That is why AstraZeneca creates a lot of programs, and it carries out a lot of surveys and research to find out more about the problems of developing countries. We also finance many programs across the world. Let me just share two examples. One of them is from Romania, the other one in Sweden. In Romania, AstraZeneca has chosen to support adolescents in the name of preventing early symptoms and later on diagnosis of cardiac diseases. Our efforts are focused on the need to do exercise, to engage in sports, physical education classes, because often children just say, we didn't have any physical education classes today, we didn't have any sports because the teacher was not at school or for any other reason. Children are not engaged in such classes at school. So AstraZeneca has supported this program. One of the initiatives was the UK cycling march, and all country managers from Sofia and Eastern Europe joined this initiative. I was going to ask whether you know the distance, the kilometers, the mileage that was done by every day. So we managed to have a ride of 181 kilometers every day in the name of trying to overcome our own barriers, physical, mental barriers. And in order to prove that we can move, I had to borrow the bikes of my children. So there are many ideas. How do we support this culture? How do we educate at home, in the society, in our teams, with our friends and our colleagues? It depends on everyone on us. And that is why it is great honor for me to be today with you, because I know that all of you support and stand behind important causes. Now, let me share more about Bulgarian projects, just to outline some ideas in order to discuss them. So, the HEAL project was developed on the request of the International Business Forum. There was a similar project that was launched in Canada, in the US, in the UK. So there was a proposal for Bulgaria to join. We chose 35 schools in Sofia, and we actually met with the school children, and we had keynote speakers, good experts in the area of sports, of medicine, and I had a very a good interaction with the children. We stayed with the school children for 6 months, and we wanted to see the impact of such lectures and consulting on the way of life. It turns out that 50% of the school children, they were ready to start doing exercise more often. They already know that they have to look for their passion in sports, whether it's football, whether it's yoga, whether it's gymnastics, or a walk in the mountain, or whether just going out for a bike ride more often with their parents, with their friends. At the same time, 50% they said that they became aware of the need to change their nutrition habits. Now, the results were shared with the Ministry of Education, and I believe that they also contributed, even though there is a lot to be done in this respect. And the ministry contributed to replacing pastry and floury snacks with fruit instead. Also, daycare centers for mental health We used to be actively involved with the treatment of schizophrenia. We actively partnered with the Association of Psychiatrists in Bulgaria. We learned that what we had to set up, what was needed, our daycare centers for mental health. So we started working with hospitals and we got engaged with this issue. We opened up 5 daycare centers in the country. This is what we did with the support of the Swedish embassy and the Swedish ambassador. That was about 10 years ago. But these daycare centers, they are still running. Now, children playgrounds, this is yet another idea from the times when Sofia was a bleak city, dark city without children playgrounds in the areas on the premises of hospitals. There were no playgrounds outside, no playrooms inside. Pediatric wards also didn't look well. 10 or 15 years ago. So we have tried to find solutions in cooperation with the Sofia City Municipality, with embassies, with the Ministry of House. We have looked for the multi-stakeholder approach in order to solve all these issues facing the Bulgarian society. Now, one of the causes that we fully support is education. Our domain is education. We definitely invest in education in therapeutic areas. They are the priority of the company. The second important field, the second important priority is education, helping young people to achieve their potential. I've just mentioned our link with sustainable development. AstraZeneca supports not just one-off projects in order to show that we have a CSR policy. We stand behind sustainable projects that are running for many years. Mini Nobel Prize project has been running for 15 years. It became a program for young, talented school students of medicine. They pay visits to Swedish hospitals, to Carolina University, and they learn from the experience and they can gain experience just before their graduation and before they start on their path of professional development. 10 years Young Mind Scholarship is yet another program we support by providing annual grants, scholarships to talented students. We also have a traineeship, internship program, and every year we accept 15-20 young students so that they can close the gap. They can close the gap between what they have learned at the university and what the real business environment is. We have supported for 6 years Teach for All. I'm sure that you are well aware of this excellent initiative. It is again an example of social entrepreneurship in the area of education. We have supported Teach for Change from the very beginning in order to support and return good education that we used to have in Bulgaria, and that I believe we might also have in the future if we join our efforts, because without education there is no prosperity for the nation. So for 2 decades breast cancer awareness campaign. We are one of the participants. There are many stakeholders involved. First of all, Bulgarian oncologists, patient associations, the industry, our partners, other pharmaceutical companies. But it was our idea because 20 years ago we asked 3 Bulgarian patients, female patients, to face and stand in front of the cameras of the Bulgarian national television. Let me also thank Nova Television, because Nova Television has also been the excellent partner over the years. We wanted to overcome the stigma. What women shared is that the moment she was diagnosed with breast cancer, her neighbors stopped greeting her. The other woman was afraid that she might lose her job. This is no longer a fact. Now, the second important contribution of the joint efforts of all the participants is that today we account for not 5, but 10 more years of life. This is how we measure treatment from breast cancer. This has become a chronic disease. It is not a terminal disease in Bulgaria. Just one more point about environment protection. We have planted 112 trees this year. Our colleagues also supported us in this idea. Finally, our employees, potential employees, say that they want to join the company because this is a company which stands for innovation, for social support in Bulgaria. That is why we are recognized as a preferred employer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zoya. I think that was excellent to get the perspective of how a corporate is working, particularly within health, for prevention and treatment, and also how you're socially engaged and pressing innovation from the top down. And now we will hear a little bit about promoting innovation from the bottom up with 3 of Reach for Change's entrepreneurs here. Reach for Change has over 600 social entrepreneurs that we support across the globe, and roughly a third of those work within the areas of health and health innovations. With us today, we have 3 excellent examples of also working on these issues, but also working on inclusion and integration and other types of solutions. So I would like to start by turning to Bojana, who's the founder of Parakids in Bulgaria, and welcoming you. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for the introduction. It's a real honor for me to be part of this and to be able to tell you more about Parakids in front of such a renowned audience. But it will also be a challenge, because I know that you will want to learn a lot. I hope that the information I share with you will be valuable and interesting for you. I have a presentation, a brief presentation. Parakids is the winner of the Change or Promiana, the competition for 2016, and that's when everything started, sleepless nights, and the end of the boring life. All this, of course, makes us full of energy and really full of life. Parakids is a program for sports for children with disabilities. And why sport? Because it is a unique social phenomena which influences the 3 main components of human health. This is physical, psychological, and social. Sport can give us all this at the same time, simultaneously. This is one of a photo from the Sofia Marathon 2018, where the kids participated. There were many other people that joined, volunteers. All these runners encouraged us, applauded us, telling us, well, that's great, you can do it. One of the girls got a little bit tired and stopped to rest, and a young boy who was running just embraced her and told her, well, go on, you can do it, which shows how encouraging people can be. But when we talk about sports, sports is also recognized in many important international documents by international organization as the UN. It appears in under item 37 of the new agenda. Para Kids is part of Sustainable Development Goal 10 or Objective 10.2, which says that empowering and promotion social, economic, and political inclusion of all is important, but we are also what we do is also included in numerous documents of the European Union. Keywords as accessibility, promotion of sports, and encouraging exchange of experience and joint international projects, especially in the technological area, creation of new methods and equipment for practicing sports. I was impressed, however, in the United Arab Emirates, they don't call the people with disabilities, but people of determination. That is, people determined to achieve something, people determined to survive, people determined to live, to enjoy themselves, to be happy. I really love this definition. That's why I decided to share it with you. What we do, well, we promote sports among children with disabilities, make sports accessible to these children. We want to be very varied, and we offer various opportunities to such children so that they can choose the best ones for themselves. We focus mainly on open-air sports, but still they can also go swimming the whole year and go to special treatments. We cover the 4 seasons of the year, mainly open-air sports activities, because nature will give you, there is additional benefit in being in touch with nature. Also, we organize various camps, the idea being to have children with disabilities and children with no disabilities meet together, be together, practice sports together, because sports is something that gives you an equal start, an equal beginning. This is also a possibility to create new friendships, to meet new people. How we do it? Well, we implement methodologies, knowledge, tested globally and proven as very efficient. Some of these methodologies come from the Nordic countries. Naturally, we also need specialized sport equipment. Luckily, we have a huge range of such equipment for the mountain, for skiing, for the beach, for the mountains, everywhere. But we can do it only if there are volunteers to support us. These volunteers are not random people. We select them in a special procedure. And also, we are open to accept anyone who's interested in becoming part of our activities and our adventures. It is all great. It's varied and colorful, but what is behind the curtain? Well, lots of work, lots of efforts, and without our partners, we couldn't have done it. I tried to split all these partners in 5 groups, but I don't have enough time to tell you in detail about each and every of them. But each partner gives us something valuable that helps us work better with the children. Reach for Change is one of our most important partners, and Promianata competition was very important. Without them, we probably couldn't have achieved anything. They helped us and they gave us access to a huge network of social entrepreneurs without whom we couldn't have proceeded. Next comes Nova Broadcasting Group as a great start. Huge great things happen thanks to the media coverage, to the possibility to share our experience with others and to learn from others. Being a media partner, Nova Television covered our activities, helped us create a positive image for the society, and the people started believing us, trusting us. Next partner is the National Sports Academy, which provided us with the knowledge and told us that there is a possibility, that there are opportunities for people with disabilities. They gave us the knowledge. Also, we can avail of their amazing sports facilities, one of the best in Eastern Europe. Another group of partners, the non-governmental organizations, all those organizations and people, all of us who want to make the world a better place. Communicating with them is energizing. It helps us see that it's not such a bleak picture, that there are many brave and courageous people ready to change the world for the better. They also provide us with lots of connections and share their experience. And last but not least, come sponsors, businesses, and donations. No NGO can survive without funding. It is very important to look for and diversify the sources of funding and diversify the mechanisms of funding. We cooperate very well with the businesses probably because we are active, and sports is something very emotional. More and more people connect us. It all started with the competition Promianata. People continue to call us. They have learned about us either from the media coverage or from volunteers or any other way. Another great place for me, the Nordic countries. I studied there. I was spent there a year and a half. I worked there. What I love about the Nordic countries is that the people there are very pragmatic. They want to do things in the best possible way and the shortest possible cut. They don't like words just for the words' sake, and this is something I appreciate. I'm also not a person of many words. So what we can say for the Bulgarian social entrepreneurs is, hello, we'll be very happy if we can work together. There are great opportunities. Only the sky is the limit. We can organize simultaneous sports events, and not only sports events. When we discuss our work, it is always possible to find some crossing points, some common things, things that we can mix and blend together.
The sky is the limit.
And yes, the sky is the limit. Thank you very much for your patience. It's me and Danielle on this photo. So join us next year at the beach. I'll show you what we do there at the seaside with a short video material.
Thank you so much, Bojana, also for sharing your story and also for extending an invitation for more cooperation between the Nordics and Bulgaria. Let's see what comes out afterwards on the coffee break. Maybe there was something. So now I'd like to welcome Adam from Tilia, organization in Sweden, to share with us their story.
I'm just going to, ooh, it was loud. Okay. Hello, my name is Adam Werner. I'm 25 years old, and I'm not a social entrepreneur myself. I'm a volunteer at our organization that was started by Sofia Blixt, and I'm going to talk about our journey and what we've learned from mistakes and successes, and hopefully we have something that can be of value for you. And Tilia came about 2012, and Ann-Sophie Blixt, who's in the background, used to work as a treatment assistant in many different areas, for example, eating disorder. She was also had a lot of experience with support chats, being a volunteer in different chats and working in healthcare, and always with youths. And after a while, she had the experience of a lot of youths that said, why is there no such thing as the intermediate? And what we're working with here is mental health issues or mental health problems. And the intermediate, what we mean by that is a lot of youths that she spoke to in Sweden, in our support system, experienced that they were not sick enough to get treatment or healthcare or even support, because the support systems in Sweden, as in healthcare in general, is designed very much for people to get a diagnosis, and with that diagnosis they get treatment. But what we see in our experience, especially with mental health problems, mental health issues, is that it's very complex. And a lot of people suffer from mental health issues, but they don't fall into the categories of diagnosis. And there's also been some research at this in Sweden, that there's not enough or not any support for people who suffer, youths who suffer from mental health problems, but don't have a diagnosis for a mental disease or mental illness. So this is a problem. And that was something she heard from youth that she supported. Why is there no intermediate? I don't feel that I can handle the daily life as it is, but I'm not so sick that I can get support and healthcare. And also people who said, I have received support and healthcare and it has helped me a lot. But now I have no support, because now I'm back on track, but I don't really feel ready. I need some kind of support still, because I still have some issues. I feel a lot better. So this was one of the key problems she saw in the system. She also heard from a lot of youths in the mental health area. We talk about psychiatry, but also about non-government organizations and just youths in general she met in Stockholm, that a lot of people experienced they had bad experience with the grown-up world, with society in large, of how society spoke about youths, how society always spoke of youth, about youth, but never with youth. They never included youth in their discussions about youth. And also many had a bad experience with professionals, as doctors, nurses, social workers. They feel they weren't really listened to, or they weren't taken seriously. And this was also something that was very, very common. And we realized this is a huge problem, because the youths of Sweden, and when we say youths, we actually talk about like 12 to 30 years old, but mostly the group 16 to 24. They have very low trust for the grown-up world and for the healthcare system. They don't feel that they are going to get the support they need. And usually this is a legitimate feeling to have, because many of them have tried to get help many years and always let down. So what have we done in society to fail these youth, and why don't they believe in the system or society? What has gone wrong? We also heard from many of them that a lot of the support we have for youths in Sweden, especially in mental illness or mental health challenges, is focused on what we call the grown-up day. The support is usually between 8 and 5 on Monday to Friday, and it usually disappears on holidays, on weekends and summers and, you know, Christmas. And that's also something that a lot of people brought up. Why does all support disappear then? That's usually a time when a lot of people maybe feel the worst, because they don't have the support system, they're not in school, and maybe because there's some pressure in summer sometimes, in Christmas, that can make people that already have challenges make it even worse. So that's also a key thing that we really found against the youth. And then lastly, which is our leading star in our organization, and what has in essence formed our whole organization is the inclusion of youth. And it's our core, because we believe in youths. We don't see youths as a problem. We don't see them as spoiled. The millennials, I know sometimes it's very easy, I understand, to see problems with social media, for example, and maybe explain all the mental health challenges with social media. Very common. It's not that simple. Social media can, in fact, for many youths, maybe be the only safety net. Maybe they don't have any friends in the school, but in social media they have friends. So it's a complex issue. But we need to include young people and youth because they have experience. They're so knowledgeable, especially they have the expertise for the kind of help they want and what they need. And they are very brave, very resourceful, and they want to be heard. We also see, as we talked about earlier, in this environment with this technology moving so fast, is that we sometimes see top-down solutions that try to analyze what do the young people need. So we have a lot of grown-ups, a lot of professors, maybe 60 years old, who are in the media and like, why do the youths of today feel so bad, and what do we need? And then they have done like research for 5 years, and I can tell them already before listening, it's outdated. It's just too fast. It is. It goes so fast with technology. And we in Telia realized that even I'm a youth advocate, but I realize now I'm 25. And in our society, I don't recognize the life that a 16-year-old live today. I'm already outdated. So we need to bring those people's experience to the table, especially for people that are trying to give them support. Because it's not something that we can actually catch with long processes top-down always, because it takes too much time, we miss the perspectives, and then we create maybe a project or a support function that in the end of the day nobody uses. And then we waste a lot of money. So these are some of the keys how it started 2012. I'm going to explain the intermediate a bit as well. This is how we see it in Sweden. It's in Swedish. But you see the big, large circle to the left. This is called mental health in Sweden. The next largest circle is called mental health issues, mental health problems. And inside that circle, we have psychiatrical diagnoses. And these circles interlope because it's complex, right? It's not black and white. It's two extremes and a spectrum in between. And we need to show the complexity by asking ourselves, what is mental health? What is mental health challenges? And what is psychiatric diagnosis and stuff like that. This is also the same material we use when we go to schools and educate about mental health. And we say, one of the most common questions we get is, how do I know if I suffer from mental health challenges or just life? Because life is hard, right? It's not like Instagram that it's all jolly and avocado sandwiches all day. We have challenges, and life means stress. It means we need to perform. It means anxiety. That's a natural part of life, and it's also a part of mental health. But when does, for example, stress, worry, and anxiety turn from usual life struggles to mental illness? It's very hard to define, right? So that's what we try to show, that these circles are intertwined. Like worry and stress, it can be part of daily life, but if the stress and the anxieties have such an effect, impact on your daily life that you have struggles, then maybe you're starting to have mental health issues and need support and help. And we also want to choose in this second large circle, which is the umbrella term for mental health issues, right? The biggest circle. In this circle, we have a smaller circle where it's psychiatric diagnosis. A psychiatric diagnosis doesn't need to be mental unhealth. You can have ADD, for example, or autism. It's not mental unhealth, it's not a disease. It's a variation of, well, primarily brain function, which shows itself in some contexts. So you can have mental health, no problem. But some diagnoses are like illnesses, like depression. And what we show with the red circle is that's where the support of Sweden's system exists. But the largest part of the mental health group, mental health issues group, and also the growing part we see among youths is not the diagnosis, it's not the clinical depressions. It is the worry, the anxiety, the self-hate, the stress that really cause suffering for these young people. And they don't get any support. And the problem with this system is that we kind of wait for them after many years until their problems, some problems solve themselves, but some doesn't without right support and tools. And then these problems turn to more messier, heavier, and sometimes even a depression, for example. And then we help them. This is very stupid, indeed. Mostly because there's so much suffering that doesn't need to be, and it costs so much more for society to try to help an individual when they've been going alone with so much suffering. It's more resources. All evidence suggests, especially in mental health, that early interventions are so cost effective and also very effective, how do you say, on suffering. It helps so much. I'm going to see my clock.
Yeah, so we need to speed up.
Yeah, I am going to speed
Yeah,
up.
makes sense.
Sustainability goals. We love this goal, especially because they have revised it. Well-being wasn't always part of it, what I understand. And usually, especially in healthcare, I feel, I also work in healthcare, I'm starting to become a nurse, but mental health is, is finally really, it's a trendsetter to include it in our perspectives. And I think it's so important because we see in society across the world that it's a growing problem in all countries. So we really need to think about this. So this, of course, is so good for us to connect. And we also believe mental health problem is something that unites all nations on Earth. Everybody has them, all the societies. Almost every person has an experience, either through their own experience or somebody close by. It unites us. And I think it affects everything. I think mental health, if we can promote mental health, we can make people take better decisions. They can handle the news, the crisis they see, without turning their back on it or, you know, it's too much. They can educate themselves. And to be healthy, to help making this world sustainable, we need to have a healthy mind, right? It's the basics for everything, also education. This is a picture of our summer camps. We also have New Year's camps, where we focus very much on giving the youth who apply tools, and we're working a lot with self-esteem, and we're working a lot about identity and about body imaging and about health in general. They are very, very well received. I'm also going to say that we have, since 2013, we have a chat system because of, you remember the weekends I told you earlier about where all the other supports disappeared? Since 2013, we have a chat that is open every day, all year round, even New Year's Eve and Christmas. So every day in the evening, youths can go on into our website and speak with a volunteer. And we have 75 volunteers in Tilia, and we all have some experience of mental health issues or problems, lived experience. But today we're stable, right? And it's super important, it's super valuable resource for a non-government organization because partly we lower the thresholds, we're very accessible for support. We are no scary doctor or there's no power structures We're one of them. And we don't say we're professionals either. Our support is human to human, peer to peer. It's peer support. I know kind of what you're going through. It's horrible. I'm here to support you all the way. If you're in psychiatrical care, if you're in school, talk to me. So one of our key practices, can I just shortly say some key practices? Sorry, I'm really bad at timing. Is low thresholds NGO support, peer support, something that is very accessible for young people, because we see that so many of the youth of today don't have a lot of trust for the system. So we need to gain that trust. We need to work for that trust by showing our volunteers, both as role models, see, we haven't been in this situation, but now we're good, right? And also as easy, accessible kind of friends, like you can speak to us, we listen. I'm not here to fix you, I'm not here to diagnose you. You're a person to me and I'm here to support you and listen to you, right? Also, one of our key practices is youth voices in reference groups. We need to, in all decisions, especially top-down, if we want to do it that way, we need to have youth reference groups, if that's what you want to support, right? And for that, a non-government organization like ours is very easy to use. We have 400 chats every month, and we have mail support, and we have blog support, and we use all the social platforms that the youths use today. So we have a lot of experience, and we're very easy to use as a reference group. We want to provide support for youths with mental health problems. Just ask an NGO that works with it. It's a great opportunity for teamwork, I think. Yeah, sorry. If there's any more questions, I'll bring it later, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Rasmus, I'm going to give you a challenge now. Succinct messaging.
Oh, yeah.
So that we leave time for questions.
Yes. While we're waiting for the microphone, can every of you just stand up to energize yourself a bit, and then maybe go up and down for a minute, just to get the energy in the body. Thank you. Okay, so let's just do 3 knee bendings. Perfect, thank you. You may sit down again. Okay. So we'd like to do a little experiment with you. Try and think back when you were 12 years old. You're going to school. You're enjoying your everyday life with your friends. You're doing your normal everyday activities. Suddenly you feel a lump around your neck. You think, well, it's nothing. I'm young and healthy. But then suddenly your mom says, maybe we should go to the doctor. And you go to the doctor and he says, you got cancer. That was me some years ago. I don't know if you can recognize me, but that is me. When you've been through a period like that, you're isolated from your school, you're isolated from your friends, you're isolated from your spare time activities. That can have long-term consequences for many of these kids. And if we don't change that into something positive, it's also going to cause something for society. Research shows that a number of these kids, both the sick kids themselves, the siblings, and sometimes also the families, are suffering from anxiety and depression. And that's, as we heard here, a very big problem. So we have to deal with that in advance. Based on my experiences as a teenager who was sick when I was young, and also based on a camp in Ireland where I've been volunteering for 11 years, and been a camper myself, I created this project which is called Livskraft. And one of our main projects are called Cool Camps. So we have these 3 cool camps that are for siblings of the sick kids. And usually you're thinking, well, they're not sick. But actually they are some of the most vulnerable kids because they're usually the forgotten children. The parents don't have time for their siblings, and the siblings are afraid of saying how they actually feel. And that can have long-term consequences. Then we also have the camp for the sick teens, and then we have, that's a new initiative, a camp for the families, where we focus a lot on the family dynamics. And all these different projects are facilitated by very engaged students, mainly medical students, nurse students, physiotherapist students, sports students. So we have a lot of engaged people that are working with human beings in their everyday life. So they're very capable of doing this task with the kids. So we have a lot of peer support during our camps, and we focus a lot on bringing some of the new research areas into our camps. So we have a lot about mindfulness, we have a lot about musical therapy, and then of course we also do some of the physical activities with the kids in order to make sure that we have a holistic approach to these people's health. We use a specific model. I'm not gonna go into details with that because that's gonna be too nerdy, but there are 4 steps: challenge, success, reflection, and discovery. And research has shown that this therapeutic model actually works on these kids if you facilitate it in the right way. And we are hoping that all the kids go through this journey, including their family, so they get a reduction of their stress levels. They have increased independence. When you're in the hospital with your family, you're always together with your parents, and that's not fun when you're a teenager. I hope you can remember that. You want to have a nice life on your own. Then we also try to increase their self-esteem, their self-confidence, and our overall aim is actually to make these people empowered and make sure that they see their disease as some kind of a strength. Because if you don't do that, the alternative is that you will just go down in a big hole and you will not end up having a positive experience about being sick. What is our vision? First of all, we're mainly dealing with kids with childhood cancer right now. But we would like to expand into other disease groups and also to expand to the rest of Scandinavia, maybe also in the rest of Europe. Time will show. And then our big system-changing theory is that we would like to have the medical treatment integrated with the rehabilitation. Because in Denmark, as it is now, the hospitals are dealing with the medical treatment, and when you're done with that, you go to the municipality, and then they're responsible for the rehabilitation. But there are so much knowledge lost in that transition, so we need to integrate those 2 things. So we're actually working with a more holistic and expanded view about medical treatment. So what we usually say is that we would like to prove that the CoolCam pill is working. These are some of our partners, Reach for Change, obviously. And then we also have the Danish Child Cancer Foundation. And then we've been working a lot together with one of the 4 universities in Denmark, because one of our big aims is to not just show that we have impact, but also show that we have an impact in the long run. And that is what we call evidence. And as a medical doctor, that's what I am hoping to show, that our project can actually help these kids also in the long run. And that's where we have the university helping us to make some research on our projects. Then we also have a private company that's called Campfire & Co. They're helping us with lots of our social media strategy. That's a new partnership. And then we're also working with Aarhus Kommune, which is the municipality in the city where I'm living. And they're helping us both potentially by paying for these kids. That's also a new arrangement. Because the government in Denmark actually introduced a new model, which I think is unheard of in the rest of the world. It's called SUM in Danish. And it's actually a model, an economic model, where you can see what different interventions help with in the long run for society. So if you do this intervention, it draws a lot of data from different scientific projects, and then you can see how much the municipality and in other parts of society is gonna reduce their cost because of this initiative. And that's actually a way to improve, or to show how your project is improving the health for people in general, and also reducing the cost for society. And that is a very good model, I think. Then we're also working together with the municipality in terms of having more focus on partnership on part of our task force. And I think that's also a good way to get to know companies like yours, for instance. So you have to engage in all those different activities that you can. It's always going to lead to more options. It's all about networking. Then just a few reflections on all about this partnership, because I think times are changing right now. So before, we were mainly focusing on the philanthropic funding. So you actually got money just because someone wanted to do something good. Then in Denmark, there were some laws that said that the bigger companies had to show how they actually did some social impact. But that was only for the very big companies. And now there is something called CSI, the Corporate Social Innovation, where we're trying to find new values by combining our efforts and co-creating stuff. And that's actually where we're aiming to get. So we don't necessarily have the only solution to the problem. We need to ask someone else what they think of the potential solutions could be. And this is a bit the same, but what we actually would like to is to try and find the shared values that we have up here. So it's not only focusing on what the businesses would like, but also what the societies would like. So you have to find some kind of cross between those two efforts, and that's the best way to get a partnership, I think. Then I've taken this stare because I think there is a gap in understanding of how you should make a partnership, because it's just like a PowerPoint presentation. Most of us start, okay, what word should I use? What is my message? How much time do I have? And then we start thinking, okay, what do we actually want you to get out of this presentation? But actually we should start in the other end, because you can't go up the stairs from the wrong angle. So I think we have to start asking our partners, what do you want to get from this? And then based on that, get some shared values, and then maybe revise your vision, because everything is agile today. There's nothing that's fixed, so we have to be as agile as the business world in order to move around those different projects and make sure that we actually make the best impact and have the best partnerships that both gain something from. This is a bit small, I'm sorry for that, but that's from a report that PwC made 2 years ago, I think. And they actually did a big survey on all the big industries. So they are listed here, and I tried to map out those that are dealing with health, because that's the SDG we're mainly focusing on. And as you see here, that's a good way to actually figure out what kind of companies you should start addressing. So, of course, healthcare is one of the big ones. The second one here is actually consumer goods, retail. So it's a good way to figure out what companies you should start focusing on when you want to have partnerships. So I can recommend this report. It's very thorough and gives a good overview of questions you could ask the companies if you want to have a partnership with them. Before concluding this presentation, I also think we have to mind the gap between these two big blocks. Because I think many of us as social entrepreneurs, we have some values we don't want to compromise with, and that is important. But I also think we have to make sure that the companies actually feel that they get something out of it, or the municipality. So we can't climb this tree and just sit up there and then expect all our values to come true, so to speak. We have to be a bit more pragmatic about it. And I heard from the discussions yesterday that that can be sometimes very difficult, because you have certain values that you don't want to compromise on. But I just think we have to be more flexible. And then many of the companies, they focus a lot on professionalism, especially the big ones. And as a social entrepreneur, you're not necessarily very professional. So I also think that can sometimes be like a clash of cultures. So if we're aware of these two things and climb the ladder in the right direction, I actually think we have potential of creating good partnerships that are sustainable and long-lasting. Yeah, that was my main message. Come and ask me if you have any questions. I hope you can use some of these tools, which I think is helpful in order to understand the world of partnerships. And thank you for listening.
Thank you, Rasmus. It was also a perfect summary and a start to our questions. So I'd like to open the floor to any questions from the audience, to any of the speakers. Otherwise, I'm going to ask Professor Yuri to encourage you.
It's a joke because they know that I started every discussion with some questions and audience know. I will speak in English because I will direct my question mainly to His Excellency the Ambassador. I have a dream. And my dream is that we can bring such amazing examples more than once per 5 years. Because we make this big conference and we have this, it's really, I'm amazed at all of these people. And we have many other examples in Sweden, in Denmark, in Bulgaria and other countries, but it's so hard to bring these people together, and it's also hard to bring them to work together. But of course, because it's very nice to bring them to present themselves, but then we have to find a way how to connect. Because, for example, in Bulgaria, we have a wonderful project about helping children where the families has oncological cancer problems. My English is not good enough to explain, but they're making a psychology support for the children because they know that the parents are not able to speak with their children. And the children see what is happening. So and they could receive so much from your experience. Unfortunately, they're not from Sofia, but maybe you can come next time to the city of Burgas where they're working. And we have many other opportunities to partner. And I'm strongly believe in this kind of international partnership. And I'm just looking for opportunities because it's quite expensive to bring these people here, to create a space for cooperation, and of course Reach for Change give this opportunity, but still we need to find more ways. So my question to everybody, but also to the governments, is how we can help these kind of projects to work closer together. So if you, of course I know that maybe there is not a simple answer, but still I would be happy to hear. Thank you.
Okay, I'll just talk.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, let me say that I'm also really impressed with what we have heard here today. Listening to the four of you and explaining what you're doing and how you're doing it, I think that is very impressive. And for me, the key thing is actually that you, as individuals, has a certain history, you have been part of it, and that make you burn for this issue, and that makes you have the drive to do it. And I think that's what you need. I mean, one thing is governments to be involved and governments to provide funds, but you need these people who are really engaged in the issue and burn it for one reason or the other, because they had a personal experience or had something else. So I was very impressed, and I was very happy to listen to it. I'll say another thing, listening to all the different examples you have, I can see that some of the things that we do at the MC somehow underline it. I mean, last week we had 5 kilometers diabetes run. We organized that together with Novo Nordisk, a Danish pharmaceutical company, to combat diabetes. That's a way to try to engage people to do something about their own health. And you do something on your health so you don't get diabetes, but that also clear your mind, of course. And in all walks of life also change your way of thinking. We also not long ago had it was not 180 kilometers though, but maybe 15 kilometers bicycle run. And we did the same thing to try to raise awareness about your personal health, but of course also to send a signal that you need to be green, you need to save the climate, you need to do things. So that's a way we as government, as an embassy, can try to promote some of these things. For us, of course, we need to have a goal that is a goal of the government and the policy of the government. For Denmark, it could be promoting climate change, to promote health, all these kind of issues, but there needs to be something behind it. Money is an issue, I'm right. I mean, I live in a country right now where the budget for all public organizations is cut with 2% every year. Why are we doing that? That we're doing so we can prioritize the money. The money is not spent just to tax reliefs, but also to put the money where you need them. That could be projects like this. As I said, I've been in Bulgaria now for it's my second year here, and I think that there's a lot of different conferences taking place like this one. I think people come together, and I think a lot of the drive should come from the organizations themselves, like Reach for Change or others. I've been involved with work with, for instance, Autism Today, also Our Children Foundation, people who have a certain cause and want to do something. Been involved in different kind of fundraising activities. Next week, I think, or the week after, I'll be part in something in direct radio about raising funds for these two organizations I just mentioned. But But my main point, I think, is that you need the organizations themselves to take the drive, because the embassy making a conference on this, I don't think it will work. I mean, you need people like you who are engaged in it and want to do it. And then, of course, you need to apply for private funds, mainly. I think that's where the money is, and not so much in Denmark. We also have a lot of social funding for organizations. Denmark, they can apply for funds and get it. So I think that's what you need to do. You need to burn, and you need to be engaged and do whatever you can. And then we, as embassy or as government, would of course support. But the drive should come from the NGOs themselves.
I have another question.
Just question, speaking of innovative practices, where do you see the innovation, or what kind of innovation are you looking for, especially given the challenges, the new challenges, especially the advantage of social media and technology? So first, because you ask about help, let's ask the right question. Do you see any challenges? Do you have any challenges? And the innovation, do you see it, or you looking for new innovation? Innovative practices.
Can I just quickly come with a comment to what you said, and then I'll come back to your question afterwards? I think one of the big problems in terms of getting people like, like us, to join countries like Bulgaria in creating new social ventures or stuff like that, is probably also a cultural thing. Because to be honest, most Danes don't know what's happening in Bulgaria, and you probably don't know what's happening in Scandinavia, I don't know. But I think that's one of the main priorities, mainly for the EU, to promote this cultural exchange. And I know there are many programs like Erasmus and so on, but right now the current situation is that most people go from Bulgaria to Denmark or Sweden or Norway, but not the other way around, and that is a big problem, I think. So I think we need to do more of this cultural exchange in order to promote these activities and actually meet in person. So that was just a reflection on that as well. Regarding the challenges we're facing in Denmark, or maybe in Scandinavia in general, I actually think we have a very good environment for social innovations. We are not as far ahead as Australia is, so we are not always the first movers, but they are very good in social innovations. I think still the main problem could be actually reaching out to the companies at the right time. So in the task force that I'm sitting in with the municipality that I'm in, we hear that the companies are interested, the NGOs are interested, but when are we going to approach each other? In what way are we going to approach each other? Think of the latter again. I mean, so we're not speaking the same language, and we don't know what we actually want from each other. And I think both the NGOs and the companies have to look into themselves and actually prioritize what they would like to do. And the SDGs is a good way to do that. So yeah, I think that's the main challenge, to find each other at the right time and speak the same language.
I could join the conversation in Bulgarian or English. Okay, in English for easy the conversation. I would say we have been approached by numbers of social entrepreneurials, and it's important when you, before you come to the door of a company and ask for support, help, or cooperation. It's important perhaps you to make your homework and to study a bit. Okay, what is the strategy of the company? What is the corporate social responsibility priority? Which are the domains these companies operate, and it's willing to fund good projects, which are in a win-win arena the company has been standing for, for the cause, for the purpose. So this is extremely important as a starting point. So to study a little bit of track records of this organization, and not necessarily to target just the individual companies rather than business organization, because in Bulgaria we have a couple of solid, well-recognized business organizations, and one of them is Bulgarian Business Leaders Forum. We are standing behind minimum 4 or 5 causes every year, and the board is sitting together, taking of quality time discussions to look through all of the applications of social entrepreneurial projects. And then we, after a serious debate, we decided, okay, if there are 20 applications, behind 4 or 5, which of them we will stand and support. And then it is, I would say, now close to 10 years. Every year we make an annual charity ball, and manage to collect quite a good amount of money, and then they are split equally amongst the causes we decided to support. So think much on a broader picture and to look at it always the entire community and society, and find out who could be your natural and logical partners to find not just the funding, but the same philosophy the company is sharing. So then you are having a leading partnership rather than just funding, which I believe is not the case, because you have to stand behind the particular cause and an issue for the society.
And then also have a dialogue. I mean, I think that.
Yes.
Then also have a dialogue. I think that's important, again, finding the shared values.
Absolutely. Yes.
And a good example of that is yesterday we got 250,000 euros for our projects, and that was based on a long-term discussion with that partner in order to figure out how are we gonna solve a challenge together. So I think that's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was just going to add also, I think a lot of social entrepreneurs have so many innovations, and they have such expertise in their area, but usually, and very passionate, but usually when they meet up with the corporate world or the government, which are their own systems, there's so much experience you need to orient yourself in those systems. And for Telia, for example, we got the support from Reach for Change 2016. We were partners, and it was such a good opportunity for us, because Reach for Change didn't take charge of our visions, but they supported us. This is how you manage your economy. This is how you speak with big corporations. This is how you... so they guided us, taught us the language, taught us a lot of stuff. And I think that's really important, because I think a lot of social entrepreneurs, they don't lack the passion or the expertise in their area, but they need to be humble and realize that they need to learn about how to orient themselves in the corporate world, and also take, be ready to get help from other organizations like Reach for Change, because then you learn about the system and you can focus on your passions and still in this teamwork, as you've spoken about earlier, realize the importance of to speak in the same terms and agreeing. And we've learned so much in these 2 years. So I think being humble, getting help, also to orient in the corporate world.
And something more, just one. It's so important when you knock on the door of potential future partner, just ask even for exploratory meeting or mentorship in the beginning, not just immediately you're asking for funding, because then you will learn much more about, okay, what is the mindset of this organization, what they stand behind, what is 5 or 10 years a long-term strategy, how you are gonna fit into this strategy, how you will add value as you talk about it, because now everybody, it's not just satisfied to do the job as it is, but you have to think about what the added value it will be for yourself, for the partners, and for the community, in overall. So.
Thank you. So with that note, I will take the word of listening, because that's what we've finalized the panel on, and say that we can listen even more during the coffee break. Yes. And you're welcome to ask all our panelists and approach them also in the coffee break, so that we will close off this. So thank you very much to this great panel.